Welcome back for another episode of the Big O Podcast. Today I am joined by music recording artist, sports fanatic, and a soon-to-be dog dad that is, Peter Serrado. Pete, how are you doing today?
I'm so good, man. Thanks for having me, dude. It's been a while. It's been a while. I haven't seen your face in a while. Well, I've seen your face, but all over my Instagram, interviewing some really cool cats, and then here comes me into your podcast, not as special, but
oh, listen, you undersell yourself too much. Listen, we've been talking about doing this for quite some time, probably like the early parts of COVID, and you were actually a huge part of me getting the technical side off the ground. So you are one of the ground floor guys for the Big O Podcast. I wouldn't be doing the things that I am doing without your amazing expertise, and I'm always appreciative for that.
Oh man, you're underselling yourself now, but hey dude, I love what you're doing with the podcast. I'm very happy to been, a part of the beginning stages when, you're trying to figure out the audio stuff and whatnot. But super excited for you, man. You have something really cool going, and I wish you all the best and success with your podcast.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Lots of love. I mean, we've got a little bit of a history. We've worked together. We've known each other for quite some time, and
you're my boss.
we've had some good times for sure. We've got to experience some really cool things in our work life, and the funny thing about that is that we worked together for a couple summers, couple years, and even though we spent so much time together, I had no idea that you were doing what you were doing. Like, you have got like the Tony Stark, Iron Man personas down so well, where it's like, this great, amazing supervisor, teacher of kids, like helping within the community. And then all of a sudden by night, it's gigs, music recording. I was shocked when people told me that you were doing what you're doing, and then I obviously checked out the Instagram and heard the music, and I was like in awe about who this guy is. How do you balance those two different aspects of your life?
Oh boy, yeah, I got my hands in a couple of things, but you know what? That's something that I've been brought up like that. I was brought up participating in multiple activities my whole life. Like I wasn't about the sleepovers. I wasn't about like going to parties and stuff. Like my whole life I was just kind of balancing through sports. At the time I wasn't even doing music, so it was just a bunch of sports. I was doing like karate, I was doing soccer, I was doing track, I was doing just a bunch of things, swimming. I was doing everything, right? So it kind of translated over into like my adult years. I've always been pretty calm. Nothing really phases me in terms of, nothing is like super overwhelming. I can handle a lot. But look, work-wise, I found something that was just super fun. It never felt like work for me. The only times it felt like work was just the administrative stuff that, I never got on time, and I just didn't like doing it. But everything else, it was a job that it gave me so much clarity and helped me so much in my life. And I think that's why I can balance so well. It was an easygoing job. Yes, there were times that it was super difficult, right? But just allowed me to be calm, clear-headed. I could go home. I could work on music. So it was there's like a little bit of a beautiful relationship between work and, my outside of work life. So it helped a ton in terms of like the process of balancing. So because it really never felt overwhelming. I never felt overwhelmed doing what I was doing. And I imagine for you, it kind of felt the same thing, maybe different because you had to deal with a little more things because you were higher up there. But for me, honestly, it was that job. It was just absolutely, eye-opening and a lot of fun. I just had fun every single day. So, I mean, that's how I balance.
No, fair. I mean, listen, you were part of a great team, and that made my life not only easy but also enjoyable. And I'm thinking back now, I'm like, the talent shows, the performances, all the signs were there for me to understand that Pete was like this music recorder, the Superman, and I got to see Clark Kent most of the time. But the signs were there, and I guess I missed out on them a little bit. But happy that things happened that way, because I was able to experience your music and your performance and your passion and love for what you do on a very different level. It wasn't something that I was expecting. And when I got surprised by it, I was like, I was in. I was like, downloaded on Spotify as soon as the new album came out. I mean, I was asking you about your music, and you're like, listen, we pulled everything. We're getting ready for the new relaunch of all the music. And I was like, I was in. I was like, Pete, when's it dropping? When's it dropping? And I've fallen in love with your music. I love the sound. And for me, it's like so cool because I know the guy who's doing some pretty cool shit out there in the music world. And I tell all my friends, I was talking about you to my wife earlier today. I'm like, I'm finally getting Pete on the podcast. We're finally making it happen. And so, what's it like for you? Obviously, you started off at a young age doing, these imaginary sold out shows in front of, your empty living room. How did that help you prepare for your real life stage performances?
Oh, I guess it was something that I've always manifested. I just didn't know that I wanted it that bad. In the beginning, music to me, it meant a lot, but I didn't know it yet. I didn't know it just yet how much it actually meant to me. I would get up on the couch, as you said, and I would have little private concerts just alone, picturing, I was basically just copying what was going on TV.
Right.
I'd watch the country music channel or whatever it was. They had the Grand Ole Opry or something going, and that was what I would watch all the time, was the Grand Ole Opry. And I was like, oh, that's cool, I like that. So I would just get up on my couch, and no one was watching. I'd have my Fisher Price guitar and I would do my thing, right? But I was heavily into sports at the same time, right? So growing up, I was always into sports, and music was sort of just in the back of my conscience. It didn't actually, it didn't come to the front yet. But whenever I was going through things or whatever, music was always there for me. So I think from a young age, I've been manifesting this. And when I finally, at the age of 18, which, I don't know, for some people that's kind of late to start a music thing, but when I got up on stage, I was just absolutely terrified. But the second that I started singing into that microphone, I built this relationship with the microphone, the song, my voice, and the crowd and whatever. And it was this surreal experience. It was like, whoa, I kind of remember this, I've been here before, right?
Right,
so
for
I
sure.
Kind of go back to that So I kind of go back to that little memory of just standing on the couch and singing, to no one, and now all of a sudden I'm actually doing it. It's pretty surreal how that connected, right? It's just little things you remember. You're like, oh, cool, that. I did that when I was little. It's a little different now. There's actually people judging you, right? But it was pretty awesome. So, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Now, you talked about, growing up and playing sports, and, you're born and raised in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Your parents had some pretty high hopes for you, hopefully, being a doctor, maybe even a lawyer, something that would financially help you help give some stability in your future. What was their response when you told them that your dream was going to be pursuing music?
I'm so lucky, man. Honestly, I'm so lucky to have incredible parents that whatever I do, they're happy.
Right.
Obviously, my mom wanted me to be a lawyer, or whatever, something big, right? That's the European mentality, become a doctor, become a lawyer. Well, I didn't want to become a doctor. I sucked at math, sucked at science. I was like, that's just not my thing. But I thought about being a lawyer for a long time. That was my other thing. But, I decided I wanted to do, I kind of stopped doing things that I don't like to do. So I'm only pursuing things that make me happy. So music was something that made me truly happy. It got me through some rough stuff. And I just can't see myself doing anything else, to be very honest with you. And when I told them, they're super supportive. You know, the deal was you stay in school, you can get a degree, whatever, and you know you can work on music, right? What I appreciated was they didn't see the music thing as just a hobby,
Right.
because to me it's not a hobby. I honestly look at it as a job, and quite frankly, it's a full-time job. There's it's 24 hours a day. Like there's no 9 to 5. It's a full day of work. Can be. So I was just super thankful that they've always been supportive. My parents come to all my shows. They listen to all my tracks. My mom, when she figured out, Facebook and Instagram, and she made one, her first thing, the first person she followed was obviously me. Boom. All right, let me start sharing everything, even posts from like God knows when. I don't know. But no, I'm just super, super thankful to have really supportive parents. And it's kind of the mentality, okay, if you're going to do it, well, do it well. Right? So I'm just super thankful for that.
I mean, it's interesting. I saw a recent documentary. A lot of people are talking about it, framing Britney Spears. I'm not sure if you have seen it, but it definitely paints, things in a very
not.
yeah, in a different light when it comes to the scrutiny that she sort of had, and really shows you when parents are not necessarily on the same page as their child, or even really wanting what's best for their child, but see them more as a money-making machine, or how can we set ourselves up for a future. You can see how quickly someone can fall out of love for what they are doing. Now, you've been doing music, as you said, since you were a young kid. Has there ever come a time where you have, I don't want to say fallen out of love for what you do, but maybe hit a rough patch? And if you have, what sort of helped you regain the love?
Okay, so interesting you bring that up. So recently, very recently, and it's not, I'm not going to blame like the pandemic for it or anything, but for a very long time, as I've been in the music industry for a bit now, since I was 18. That's 10 years, which isn't a lot, but and I sort of worked my way up, and I've gone through it all. Not everything, but I've hit some rough patches, times where I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? This isn't getting me anywhere. Oh my God, I'm playing for like 3 people. What am I doing? Oh my God. One time I actually only played from my mom. I was at a bar in Port Credit, door 55, and there was like a snowstorm or something. I don't remember. But she was the only person there, just sitting, clapping. Every song. It was funny. But yeah. But anyways, as I got older, whatever, forward to now, or this last year, I was always go, 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 go. And then the moment that I had time to just kind of sit there and think about everything, I started to realize, I'm like, where has music gotten me? Like, I'm almost 30. Like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Maybe I should become a lawyer. Maybe I should do these things. So I kind of went through this dark period of maybe this isn't for me. And then for a while, I couldn't even pick up a guitar. I couldn't write anything. Like, I didn't want to do anything. So I kind of fell out of love with music. But forwarding on, it was still during the pandemic, but I met Tom Mackay, a producer, and he's been helping me through this, and he kind of told me this story that I tell everyone, every musician or artist or anyone for that matter, not even musician, that that's going through a hard time. But he sat me down and he's like, hey, you okay? I'm like, nah. He's like, all right, let me tell you a story. He's like, so there's a story. He basically made it up, but
right.
It was like, he didn't hear this from anywhere. He just made it up. But or he heard it from someone. But 3 javelin players. One's a pessimist, one's a realist, one's an optimist. They go out to the field. They're all kind of roughly all, at the same sort of level, and they're all trying to beat, let's say, the school record, which is, I don't know, let's just pick a number, 70 meters. That sounds very short, but anyways, 70 meters it is, okay? Pessimist goes up, and he's like, I don't know if I can hit this today, but we'll see. I don't really care. Throws it, boom, 69.9. Just short. Realist goes up, he's like, all right, I think I can do it. Yeah, I can do it. But I don't really care if I, I surpass it or whatever, fall short. That's whatever. Throws it 70 meters, right on the dot. Optimist goes up. He's like, man, I'm going to throw this shit to the moon. I don't care. And mind you, he's not as great as the other guys.
Right.
But he's still pretty good. Throws it 70.1. And he looks at me, Tom looks at me, and he says, count your 0.1s, because your 0.1 will keep on adding. And for me, it's 30-something years of 0.1. So it's just appreciating the little things, right? So for me, that's what I've kind of been doing, appreciating the smallest of victories, which for me, like picking up the piano, like learning the piano or something, right? That to me is, right now, it's like a huge victory. I'm starting to play it really well, better than before. Might not be a big victory for someone else, but it's a big victory for me, right? A single stream, like I have to appreciate that one person that took the time to listen to the song, right? Or the 1,000 streams that I get in comparison to like bigger artists or whatever that get like millions. Like 1,000 streams, you know what? That's 1,000 people that took the time to listen to your songs, right? So I'm just starting to appreciate life a little bit more and just appreciate the small things and just seeing that this is all a part of the bigger picture, all a part of the plan, and that I'm putting in the work and hopefully it'll translate into something bigger. But I'm not thinking like that. I'm not thinking about, oh, I want to be like this and this and that.
Right.
Yeah, maybe subconsciously it's manifesting in my brain, but it's not something that I'm set on. I'm just going day by day, working super hard. So that's how I'm kind of like going through that rough patch. And I fell in love with music again, right? Because now I'm not putting this pressure, I'm not putting these timelines on myself. And just like that, I just feel a lot better. I feel like I'm enjoying music. I feel like I'm at a different level now musically. Because I've relieved that pressure off of my shoulders. So
that 0.1 story is phenomenal. I mean, it makes so much sense when you hear something like that, and I totally understand. I mean, from the perspectives we were talking before the podcast, I've joined this recent app called Clubhouse. It's an audio platform for Apple users right now, and I was just in a chat yesterday with Cabby from The Score, and he works at Bleacher Report, and Tim McAuliffe, and it was a group talking about how to make it in sports media today. And the biggest things that all of the people in the group were talking about was, don't get caught up with the view counts. Don't get caught up with the followers. Don't get caught up with the likes. Make good content. Focus on getting better. Focusing on expanding your expertise, and things will come. Because sometimes it's one video that makes all the difference. And it could be the very first video you make. It could be the 100th video that you make. For you, it could be, the 150th song you release and you put up on Spotify. Yeah. That is the one that catches everybody, and that's all you need. But just keep working.
Absolutely.
Keep working your craft. Keep loving what you do, because the moment you fall out of that love, your work starts to reflect that a little bit, and very easily you can sort of lose track of what you want to do. Thankfully for you, you run into the right person at the right time, and they sort of help you get back on track and look towards the future. What is What has the quarantine been like for you, releasing an album during the quarantine, not being able to really go play live music outside of, Instagram Live or maybe on like a YouTube
Yeah.
channel? How are you staying motivated for putting out good music during the quarantine?
So I mean, in the beginning, as I mentioned, it was pretty rough, right? I had all these plans going in, going on a tour. I was supposed to be in Scandinavia doing like a radio tour. I was supposed to be in Portugal, and I was gonna record Lisbon or the music video for Lisbon. I was supposed to do these things, and then boom, pandemic. And it just hit me, and then I was like, okay, well, this is pointless, right? Which went to my point where I lost the love of music, because I'm like, where am I going with this? It's not taking me anywhere. Now I have this pandemic thing. We got COVID. I can't go anywhere. What am I gonna do, right? So it was a battle. At first, I just wasn't motivated whatsoever to write music. For me, the way I write music, I have to be out and about and just experiencing things. That's just the way I create, the way I write. It's just me. But some people are different. Some people can lock themselves in their place and just go to town and write and write and write. No, I need to be out. I need to be motivated. I write a lot of lyrics outside, like engaging with people, and I'm always on my phone, like typing away, like lyrics or whatever. But it was difficult. But I was still able to record. We had a lot of Zoom sessions, so that was something new. It was interesting, not quite the same, because you lose that energy that you get
For sure.
in a writing session or recording session in a room, with other musicians. In the beginning, before it was, we had the official lockdown, we were still doing things in the studio, which was nice, but then they took that away from us, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So we started the Zoom thing, and that went well. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the new stuff that I'm working on that is gearing towards, 2022, basically, well, end of 2021, or probably this summer we'll start seeing new stuff. But a lot of it was done, starting last year, February, and through the pandemic. And with the guidance of Tom and Reno, my manager friend, they both just kind of kept me motivated. It was just having that support group. That's what got me through it. And I started to love music again and again, just enjoying the little point ones and whatever. I don't care what it was. I'm like, all right, I'll take it. Cool. We wrote a song during the pandemic. That's awesome. Cool. Like, we were still able to do that. That's awesome. Right? So, I mean, I feel more prepared than ever now. I mean, there was time to think about strategies, like where do we go after this is all, sort of restrictions are lifted. We're ready, man. Like, I'm so ready. I'm prepared. Honestly, more prepared than ever. We just have all these strategies in place, and it's great. It's great. I can't complain. I'm kind of thankful for, I'm not thankful, but I am thankful for last year. It allowed me to see things. It allowed me to grow as an artist as well, figuring out new ways of writing and, recording, whatever. It was just great. So, hard year, but also thankful. Got to experience something different. It was definitely different.
No, for sure. I mean, obviously, it's been challenging for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. Obviously, for someone like you who gets your motivation from being outside and enjoying nature and interactions with people, I can definitely see how
playing was playing was a big part too. Like, not being able to play the music was heartbreaking for me, because that's sort of my thing. Like, I love recording music, but I love playing it more.
Right.
I love the live performance aspect of being a musician. And that's not just me, that's like every single musician. We just love to be out there and playing and engaging, because when you're starting out, that's like the only way to really promote your stuff, right? It's the way to build an organic following. And all of a sudden I didn't have that, and it was like, oh my God, this is terrifying. I don't know what to do. Right? But you know, I think we'll get there. I think things are gonna get a little better, and I'll be out there playing. But again, I'm not stressing about it. I'm not thinking about timelines. I'm not thinking about those things. I'm just kind of going through this whole lockdown, quarantine, just taking it for what it is, and you know, doing what I can to be prepared when everything is lifted. Let's get this show on the road, back on the saddle. Let's do it, right? So, yeah.
Ready to hit the ground running. Now, you did release an album. I mentioned it earlier, Sunset and a City. If someone does not know your music, how would you best describe your musical genre when it comes to this album?
Oh man, I don't even know. I honestly don't even know.
Great advertisement for your own music there, Pete. Good job, buddy.
It's inspired by a whole lot, man. In particular, it's very cinematic. So
Okay.
I'm a big movie lover. I love, you know, musical scores. You know, like I love Hans Zimmer. I love all that stuff. Like that's. So we wanted to create an album that kind of represented that, and we were really targeting Europe at the time. So the album is very much a European sounding album. It's not something that would instantly get picked up in North America, I would say, although a lot of it is inspired by, you know, North American sounds, but whatever. But a lot of it, yeah, Americana, some rock, some folk. It's just inspired by a lot of genres that I grew up listening to, but very much a European production style. You know, a lot of string work. You know, wet vocals, lots of reverb and stuff. Like it's just big, grand, epic. Those are some of the comments I get. It's like, this is freaking epic, man. Sounds epic. And every song is sort of like a movie, right? It starts off soft and then it just builds and builds and builds. And then by the end, you're like, whoa, what just hit me? Like, this is crazy, right? And we wanted to make an album where, you know, you listen to a song, you know, 1 to 10 times, and every time you go through it, you find something new. Like, oh, wow, I didn't hear that in the beginning. So it's a very artsy-fartsy album, I would say. But it was really fun. It was really fun to record. But yeah, no, a lot of influences, very singer-songwriter stuff, lots of pop, soul, rock, Americana influenced.
So
album for sure.
It's funny you use the word cinematic because that's, you know, now that you say that word, every track and every time I listen to it, I visualize, I close my eyes, I can visualize like the music video or the sound and take me to a place where I can see scenes unfolding. So, I mean, that is your goal. That is the result that I'm getting. I mean, I'm very biased. Lisbon, easily is my favorite song that's on the album.
Awesome.
Super excited that, you know, there's a music video coming up for that, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But I certainly get the feel of something like, you know, I grew up watching the Foo Fighters, and I love the Foo Fighters because their music videos were all like stories and like little vignettes, little movies. And when I listen to your album, I imagine that, and seeing some of the photos and press that you've done for this album, like, again, very much the look, very much the feel. Is there, you know, you talked about Hans Zimmer and loving musical scores. Is there a favorite musical score from a movie, like all time in your mind, that like just is your inspiration? Dark Knight. Okay.
Dark Knight, man. Dark Knight is crazy. It's just those minor details that he was able to capture, like, you know, when the Joker with the violin, I think he's using like a cello or a violin, and he's building that tension. He got the guy to like repeat, you know, the single note for like, I don't know. The guy was in session for like 2 hours. He was like, keep going. It's not it. You gotta, like, you know, more tension. but it was just well done. I don't know. He's just amazing. But I just like the fact that it just represented the movie and the characters so well. If you took the characters out of, if it was just the score, you were just listening to a score, you're like, holy crap, like, what is this? It's just some, like, epic villain type thing, right? You don't even have to watch the movie to understand what he's trying to capture. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know this for a fact. I heard something. You can fact check this. I don't know. It might be wrong. But apparently he does not watch the movie when he builds the score.
Hans Zimmer?
Hans Zimmer does not watch the movie before he builds the score. He builds the score. You just tell him what the themes are and whatnot, and he just goes off and he does this thing, whatever. I don't know. I could be wrong, but it's an interesting way to look at things.
Interesting.
But I could be wrong. Might be wrong. I'm probably wrong, and I'm just making this up. But I don't know where I heard that. But I heard it from someone or somewhere on the internet. I don't know.
Listen, we don't fact check. I mean, that story sounds good. So yeah, I'm gonna clip this part and post it and send it to Hans Zimmer himself and let him know. But it's funny. Dark Knight, fantastic movie, fantastic score. I always go back to the first time I ever recognized the impact that sound and music had in a movie that I thought enhanced it, and that was Star Wars. For me,
yes,
Star Wars has some of the most iconic sounds and music, and as you talk about, building through good, bad, building up scenes, building down scenes, transitioning scenes. And in Star Wars, it is a character in the film. As much as Luke and Leia and Han and Chewie, the music is a character playing its role and helping you along the journey of telling a story. Gone with the Wind is another one, very differently, but again, fantastic score. And so I have an appreciation for music and film now, because bad music or bad, I don't want to say soundtrack, but just a bad score in a movie can really change the feel of how a movie sort of comes out.
For sure.
If you had the opportunity to be on any soundtrack of a film in the history of films, your favorite films, is there a movie that you would have loved to have done a song for that you feel your musical style would have impacted a film in a positive way?
Oh man. That's a good question.
Thanks, Pete.
It's a great question. Wow, you're good at this, man. You know what you're doing.
I try, man. I try.
Oh, dude. I don't know, like a James Bond movie or something.
Yeah.
James Bond or Scarface or something.
Those are two very opposite ends of the spectrum.
Very
films.
different, but very different. But I don't know, man. Probably James Bond or something. That'd be cool.
Yes,
that'd be really cool. I always wanted to write a song for James Bond, like a theme, not where how every some celebrities have a song for James Bond, like Billie Eilish just did the last one, I think, or for the recent, or has it come out yet? No, it hasn't come out.
It comes out this year.
No, so yeah, but she did that one. I think Adele did Skyfall. Sam Smith did one. That'd be cool. I'd love to do that. Oh, yeah, for sure. That'd be cool. James Bond, Peter Serrado and James Bond. Or the Narcos, the TV series, Narcos. Okay. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
See, it's funny you say James Bond, because in the moment you said it, I pictured Sam Smith's voice and the song he did for whichever recent film it was. I can't remember, one of the Daniel Craig films. And I'm thinking, that's Pete. It's not the same sound as Sam Smith, but it's the same vibe that you get that would totally fit a James Bond intro song. And for me, Chris Cornell, when Casino Royale came out of Audioslave, that one was that was the first time I was really truly tuned in to a James Bond song. And then for all the Daniel Craig movies, that's been it for me. Adele, Skyfall was incredible. Sam Smith,
that's one of my
he did
favorites.
Spectre. I think he did Spectre.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was the second last movie, or the one before this one coming out, I think, right?
I think it was the last one. I think it was Spectre, because I think that's the
Yeah,
one
it's the last
with
one. Yeah.
Christopher Waltz in it. I'm just picturing. I'm thinking that's the build-up. Incredible, incredible movies, great songs, and I think that's one of like the cool things. Like there's the Super Bowl halftime show as far as like iconic performances go. There's Pepsi or Coca-Cola sponsorships, but I think one of like the coolest jobs that you could ever get, because you probably only get one shot at it, is a James Bond song, right? It's like putting your artistic stamp on one of the most iconic set of movies that have been going on for like 50 years at this point. So that'd be kind of cool. I'd love to hear a rendition of a Peter Serrado song that you would do for James Bond. I think we should do it. We'll send it to Hans Zimmer, and it'll be in the next Bond film.
I'd be so down, man. Oh my god, that'd be so cool. Just having a song for James Bond, the main song, the theme song. Oh my god, that'd be so cool. That's a huge. Yeah, I got to start manifesting that, man.
That's it.
I'm gonna start writing that song right after this podcast. I'm gonna start.
Beautiful.
I'm gonna start building it.
Executive producer Julian Ortiz of the Big O Podcast.
Ortiz.
That's
absolutely, man. Absolutely. Don't worry. You'll get your money, man.
It's not about money. I'm just trying to attach my name to your star, buddy. That is what I'm trying to do. Speaking of your star, so you have been making music and singing and performing for quite some time, and then you end up on this great opportunity for Eurovision. Can you walk us through how that happened, how you like auditioned for this competition? Tell us a little bit about the competition and how that experience catapulted you into brand new markets across the world.
Basically, my album was a result of, the festival and Eurovision. That's why we targeted Europe.
Right.
That's why it sounds all European and stuff. But anyways, that was odd. That was an odd thing. Because I lived here.
Right.
Typically Portugal, when they select their contestants, they're all from Portugal, born and raised. But for the first year, they opened up their borders for anyone outside of Portugal with, with Portuguese citizenship. You can audition. So they had this it was like a radio contest.
Okay.
It's like one of the bigger radios in Portugal, and they're a sponsor. They're a sponsor for the festival, the Portuguese qualifier for Eurovision. So they were having this contest, and actually my mom told me about it, and I watch it every year, especially Eurovision. I watch it every single year. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's give it a shot. Let's just send in a song. So I sent them Sunset, and I didn't really think much about it because I'm like, this song's in English. It's never going to be picked up. Sure enough, I'm just walking. I remember walking to go get a coffee. It was summertime. And I get a call. I'm like, oh, this is odd. Portugal? That's weird. Like, hey, your song got selected for the festival. I'm like, what? Are you kidding? Really? So I remember like pacing so back and forth, like in excitement. I couldn't even talk to anyone. I was like, I was just like throwing my fist up in the air. I'm like, yeah, let's go. And like, yeah, we're gonna need you in February. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I decided to go there in January just to acclimatize, with the language, the culture. I mean, I speak Portuguese fluently, almost perfect, but it's very different when I do interviews here and doing interviews there. The language is just so much more sophisticated.
Sure, there's
an expectation, even though they know that I was born and raised here.
Yeah.
They still speak. There's still this expectation that I can understand it in terms of their caliber of Portuguese.
Right.
But anyways, went there in January. It was a great time. Honestly, did really nothing for a month. It was the best. Did nothing, wrote some good songs, whatever, wrote Lisbon, wrote a bunch of songs while I was there. It was phenomenal. It's great and just super inspiring. It's an inspirational city. It's absolutely beautiful. But anyways, I had really no expectations, to be fair. I didn't think that I would win because of the contestants that were there. Some really heavy hitters. The top male Portuguese singer was a part of the contest. I'm like, okay, well, he's gonna get selected. I'm not gonna get selected. Are you kidding? Am I gonna go up against that guy? So I took it day by day. Whatever. We did the semifinals, and I was just amazed. And I met some really cool people that we still talk today. I talked to the guy Diogo. He's again a Universal artist, top guy in Portugal. We still talk. Like, it's great. It's amazing. I even not too long ago, he's like, what's your PSN tag, man? I was like, but anyways, just met some really cool people, great contacts, great musicians. So if I ever go there, like, I'm set. I have a band there. It's awesome. But yeah, it was a little, like, on the day of the competition, it was a little nerve wracking because I'm like, oh my God, this is a whole country. And even outside of Portugal, right? Because people will tune in to like different qualifiers that are going on during that day or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, this is like millions of people watching me on TV. You better not fuck up, man. Like, don't screw this up, or else you're gonna turn into a meme or something. I don't want that. I was like, all right, but you know what? I was like, you know what? This is just the greatest. Even if you don't win, this is a great opportunity to just show what you're about, your music, and just make amazing contacts that will last you a lifetime. And, you never know when you come back, you can meet this person or that person. So that's how I kind of approached that whole entire festival. People were like, oh, this guy doesn't care if he wins or not. Interesting. But I really didn't. I went for the experience and the exposure. Like, that was my main goal, and I got that. But it was just so interesting. The judges, they didn't understand. They were like, they just didn't get me. They in the voting thing, I didn't do too well in the judges' vote. But dude, in the public vote, I crushed it. I think, what was it? Second or third or something?
Oh wow!
I think it was second overall in my semifinal. Yeah, it was second overall. It was crazy. And I'm like, this is what it's about. Like, I care about this. I care about what the people are watching and what they're listening to. That's what I care about. I don't care if the judges don't like it. Like, to me, it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay? You don't like it, whatever. Why? Because probably it's non-Portuguese. That's why. But anyways, that's just a whole different thing. But I don't really care. But the fact that people really loved it despite it being in Portuguese. Yeah, you got like a lot of people. So, oh, it's not Portuguese. Or,
right.
It shouldn't even. I was like, okay, whatever. But people that understood some people just understood what I was about and where I came from. There wasn't this expectation that I was going to sing in Portuguese. Like, okay, he's from Canada. What else is he going to do?
Right.
He sings in English. That's just who he is. They selected him for who he was. So that's how I approached it. People loved it, and it was phenomenal. It was great. And then went to the finals, and unfortunately, it didn't go our way. It didn't get, again, public vote was great.
Right.
The judges' vote just was valued a little higher in terms of in that round. So whatever. But anyways, it was amazing, man. I think I got to play in front of like 15 or 20,000. I could be wrong. I don't remember. It was like 15,000, 20,000 people. It was in the thousands. It was this arena. It was pretty cool, surreal. It felt like home. It was great. It was interesting. I wasn't nervous at all. It was the most absurd thing. It just felt like home. I felt like I wanted to be there. It was great, which I did want to be there, but I had this thing again. Remember, I was telling you when I first got in front of a microphone in front of people, I built this like connection with the microphone and the people in front of me. It was like this whole world. It was this cool. It was like I built this universe. And I got to experience that again. It was amazing. It was really, really cool. And from that, despite not going too far in the Eurovision thing, but I got this wicked gig like a year later. I opened up for this artist, Aurea. She's one of the biggest female artists in Portugal.
Great name.
And Aurea, yeah. And it was incredible. Yeah, played for like 50,000 people. None of them knew who I was. Well, maybe some for like the festival, from the festival. But, it was pretty amazing. And that was quite an experience. We had like a band. We had a band going into, before even touching down in Portugal. We had a band set up. They learned the songs. And then we got there. And then for whatever reason, her team was like, you can't use a band. And we're like, what? So what are we going to do? So Reno and I were looking at each other. And like they're like, yeah, you're going to have to do this like acoustically. I'm like, what? For all these people? Okay. All right. Well, lucky for me and Reno, we do acoustic things all the time. So we were ready. We were like, all right, cool. But people love that, man. So yeah, out of like that festival, I was able to build a lot of cool contacts, and still to this day we stay connected. 2 of my Portuguese songs, the only 2 Portuguese songs that I've ever released, they were written by a wonderful singer, or I think she does some singing, but mostly a lyricist, Liliana. She's amazing, but we connected with her through a contact that we made from that festival. So it was pretty cool. I mean, yeah, it was a learning experience. And it definitely shaped me as an artist and just how I view the industry and all these things. I love the European market, man. I love Europe. There's just a different appreciation for music. And I learned that while I was there for 3 months. People just love it. They love their music. Very different from here.
Right.
Toronto, there's not that appreciation. I'm not saying that people don't appreciate it. But, I'm in a bar. The moment I say I'm going to play my original song, well, okay, it's pee-pee time. Going to the bathroom.
Right.
I'm going to go outside, have a smoke. Oh, but he's about to play, the Eagles. He's about to play Hotel California. Oh, great. But who cares about Sunset in a City? Don't worry. It's all right. But in Europe, man, people love it. Like, they love it. And the fact that I was, Canadian and I was singing in English and, people were just intrigued by it. They were like, oh, interesting. But I remember doing, like, little gigs in between and people were just so into it. They're like, who is this guy? Oh my God, I love these songs. People would come up and ask about like the songs and what are they about or whatever.
Right.
And it was interesting. Very different, 2 different places. Europe is like so crazy, so cool.
It's funny because, when I was reading up on, the Eurovision stuff and the fact that you were in the competition, I wasn't sure like exactly what it was, right? I didn't know it was primarily like, European competition. However, what really stood out to me and how I knew that this was like a real important thing globally is Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams are in a Eurovision movie that talks about like the singing competition. And I'm like, okay,
hey dude,
this is awesome. I have one question before you talk about the movie. And that is, if you got to be in this movie, well, like a secondary or tertiary character.
So I haven't watched the movie, by the way. I just know it's out.
Right. It's on. I think it's on.
Okay.
I think it was released by
it's
Netflix.
On Netflix. Okay.
Yeah. If you had to have someone play Peter Serrado from Canada in this movie, what actor would you choose to play that role?
Okay, so I'm only going to say this because I've gotten this many times. And you know what? Sure. James Franco. Apparently, him and I, we have this like similar thing. I don't know if it's the eyes. I don't know what it is. But I get that resemblance a lot. it's weird. They're like, you kind of look like James Franco. I'm like, really? That's the most common. Once someone said I looked like Tom Cruise.
Is that a compliment? Is that a good thing?
I don't know. It could be.
I feel like you're a little bit taller than he is.
He was a badass. Top Gun, and Mission Impossible. I'm cool with that. No, but James Franco would be kind of cool. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like in a Will Ferrell, Rachel McAdams, even Pierce Brosnan's in that movie. I feel like James Franco would be like the kind of person who would be in that movie as an artist, because I feel like he'd kill that role.
Yeah, man, like I'd love if like Johnny Depp or Leonardo DiCaprio played my guy, but that's never gonna happen. But because I love Johnny Depp, man, he's like one of my favorite actors. But yeah, James Franco for sure.
Cool.
I think he suits the movie. Yeah, as you were saying, he definitely does suit the movie.
I like that. I think that's a pretty cool thing. And it's funny because like in the summer, I think it came up. Like I was researching. I'm like, oh man, there's like a Eurovision movie, and I'm thinking like documentary, and then I see like Will Ferrell's attached. I'm like, all right, this is gonna be like vintage, Blades of Glory type of a film.
Is it any good?
I haven't seen all of it. I've seen bits and pieces. I watch Netflix late at night, so I usually fall asleep because then I'm an old man like that.
Yeah.
But it's Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams. Like, of course it's going to be great. That's just what they do. I want to talk to you about
that's funny.
One more thing before we wrap up, and that is you and I, big UFC guys, big MMA, junkies.
Yes.
And so, this weekend we have UFC 258 coming up. We have a huge matchup between Kamaru. That's right, Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns. And for all of the people who don't know, Pete loves himself Brazilian MMA fighters. If there's not a guy from Brazil, Pete is not watching. This card has four.
No, that's false. That's absolutely false.
This card has four of them, but I want to talk about three major storylines going into UFC 258.
Yeah.
We'll start with Macy Barber. Macy Barber, first fight back after tearing her ACL. She was undefeated, was, looking to be the youngest champion in the UFC, trying to break John Jones' record. Suffers a little bit of a setback. She comes back versus just trying to look it up because I had it here. Alexa Grasso, who's been putting up some good numbers, some good fights. She's been fighting some names.
12-3-0. I have it up here. 12-3-0.
Yeah. So, going into this fight, looking at, the hype train that is Macy Barber, what are you hoping or expecting to see as she returns to the octagon after such a long layoff?
Oh, man. I mean, we look at the McGregor situation, being off for a long time, ring rust. But I don't know. She's an exceptional fighter, man. I think she can pull it off, dude. I think she can pull it off. I don't know about you. I think she pulls it off. I don't know. Ring rust is a thing. Some fighters say it's not. Some say it is. I don't know who to believe. I guess it just really depends if they win or lose the fight. And then it's like ring rust. I wasn't fight. Conor McGregor. He was like, hey, I just didn't fight enough. I didn't fight enough, right? And but it could be a thing. I don't know, man. Ring rust is. I think it's definitely a thing. I think it'll come down to just sharpness, and we'll see. We'll see if she can pull it off for sure. But I think she can, man. She's an exceptional fighter.
I mean, one of the fighters to look back from a similar injury was Dominic Cruz, right? Dominic Cruz is injured every 4 to 5 weeks, it seems like, and he still bounces back, and he's still looking electric. So, I mean, hopefully she responds a little bit like Dom does and can get back on that championship trail, because you know what? If I'm the UFC, she's young, she's active on social media, she's a very easy person to market, right up there with, the way Ronda Rousey was. And for the longest time, she was actually calling out Paige Van Zandt, who's now moved to bare knuckle fighting. But this would be a great opportunity for the UFC.
She's no bueno, man.
A great opportunity for the UFC to bounce back and have that female star that they can really build the brand around. Because you have someone like Amanda Nunes who's, got maybe a couple fights left, and then she's going to retire, and then who really knows?
You need someone else, I guess, to just kind of carry the torch.
Exactly.
Right? So,
exactly.
but there won't be an Amanda Nunes, man. She's an absolute beast.
She's the GOAT.
Beast.
She's the GOAT.
She is, man. She is. She's amazing, man. Man, I get so excited when I see, these, women fights. I'm like, oh man. Usually it's bloodbaths. I love it. I love a good bloodbath, man. Like what was her name? Oh my god, the Polish fighter, Joanne.
Oh, Joanna Jędrzejczyk.
Yeah. Yes. Can't say her last name. Against was it Zhang or something?
Yeah, Weili Zhang.
Holy moly! Like that's what I'm talking about, man. They're electric. Electric. I love it. I don't know, man. To me, it gets, some of them are like just absolutely better than like these, the men fights, man. They're just like, I'm always looking forward to it. I'm like, oh, all right, bloodbath, let's go.
All right, I want to stir the pot here for a second because you brought this up, and I wasn't gonna bring it up, but now this seems like the perfect segue for it. Stephen A. Smith, the lovable ESPN analyst from First Take, came out. I was either this week or at the end of last week and said, he doesn't want to see women fighting. He has no interest in watching women fighting. And he talked about it's just not something that is appealing to him. He's not saying don't have women fighting in the UFC or whatever. He's just saying it's not what he enjoys watching. But Stephen A. is a very, polarizing character. Is Stephen A. okay to say that he personally doesn't like it, but will not stand in the way of other people or having them compete? He's just not a fan of it.
I mean, you don't have to be a fan of it. I mean, if that's what he thinks, that's what he thinks. Like, who are we to, decide that for him? But I think women fighting is awesome, man. It's electric. I think out of all the sports that that exist, it gets the most attraction. It's women fighting, like Amanda Nunes, whatever. Like people tune into that.
For sure.
People tune into an Amanda Nunes fight. People were tuning into a Ronda Rousey fight. What was the girl that beat Ronda Rousey? What was
Holly Holm?
Holmes. Yeah. People tune into that. So it generates, maybe it doesn't generate the same amount of money as like a Conor McGregor or like a big time fight, but I don't know, it's still relevant, man. Like why can't they fight?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the female fighter that means the most to me these days is Michelle Waterson. Like Michelle Waterson, the karate hottie, and I love Michelle for two reasons. Number one, she's just a badass fighter. She just no holds bars, just will get bloody. That we talked about. We love to see it. We love to see the wars. But for me, I guess because I have two young daughters, seeing that she is a mom who has a daughter herself, her husband, like one of her coaches, Joshua Gomez, you can see how much love they have, and her quest to being a mom champ, like that's the most important thing for her. And I guess as a father, I'm like, all right, perfect. My girls will have someone that they can see as a role model that looks just like them and can succeed. Absolutely. And can succeed after having a child, which is one of like the hardest things for women in sports to sort of come back from, which is why some of them either choose not to have kids or they have kids and cut their career short. So I'm always rooting for Michelle Waterson. My hope is that she, breaks through in 2021 and wins, but that's my plug for Michelle Waterson.
Man. It's empowering, right? Like, I mean, for you have two daughters, it's important that they can see that, hey, I can do that. Maybe that you don't want them to become UFC fighters, right? But in other aspects, right? Like whether it's basketball or hockey or whatever it is, I can. There's still an avenue for that, right? If you have that Stephen A. mentality, man, like that's what's wrong with the promotion of women's sports. These rich analysts, they just don't care about it. Like they don't care about it, and when you don't care about something, obviously it shows, right?
100%.
I would say, if there was more attention, if maybe, start segments of like women's sports and whatever. I don't know. Maybe there will be more of an interest or more attraction. It'll be a little more attractive to the common sports.
Yeah.
Connoisseur. I don't know. I just don't think there's enough into it. Like, people aren't putting their effort and time into it, right? Like, how many you turn on Sportsnet, I rarely see anything women related in terms of like hockey or basketball or whatever. The only time I was watching like women's hockey was during like the World Cup or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all. People forget that there's a league.
100.
Now you see a little bit more the WNBA and stuff. I've noticed that you're seeing it a little bit more, which is a big step. But people are pushing that. But there are people that are kind of like regressing that progress,
right?
And having that mentality, that Stephen A. mentality, that's a part of the problem, right? I don't know. I'm okay. I'm definitely okay. I'm more than okay with, with women's UFC fights. I love that stuff. Like, it's great. They can beat me up. Holy smokes! You kidding?
Now, shout out.
I do not want to get in an alleyway with Amanda Nunes and piss her off.
Shout out to Dana White, who has gone from the guy who said women would never compete in the UFC to being one of the best marketers of women in sports. When you look at the Ronda Rouseys, the Amanda Nunes, the Holly Holmes, the Misha Tates, like any prominent fighter, he's doing what he can to really, explode their platform so that 100%. They get that recognition. And, when you have fights like, Joanna and Weili Zhang, like it's insane. And that's what's going to drive the sport moving forward as they move to market.
People remember that fight. People remember that fight. People will remember that fight. Are you kidding? That's a Hall of Fame fight, man. That's like, was it fight of the year? Did it end up getting fight?
I think it won fight of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That was just a war. Absolute war.
Speaking of big fights, the main fight on this card between two longtime training partners obviously has to include a guy from Brazil, so really wets your whistle a little bit. But Gilbert Burns challenging welterweight champion Kamaru Usman, without any bias as to where someone was born. How do you see this fight going, and who do you think walks out Saturday night as the new and still welterweight champion of the world?
Hey, man, after that Woodley fight, dude, he looked amazing. And I'm like, this guy is a big problem. He is a huge problem. I think he matches up so well with Kamaru. My heart says Gilbert Burns is going to be and new, man. My heart just says that. I don't know, man. I don't know what it is. It's not him being Brazilian. It has nothing to do with that. There's something about him. He's a scary man. I don't know. I think Kamaru's going to get submitted, man.
Ooh, okay, so
he's going to get because Kamaru's he's great on the ground, amazing on the ground too, right? But I think he's underestimating his old partner, man. I'm listening to like all these interviews, and I think he's underestimating him a little bit. I think he's like, oh no, I know what he's gonna bring to the table, kind of thing. He's probably gonna try stomping on his feet and stuff. All the fun Kamaru Usman stuff that he's notorious for. But I think he's gonna run into a lot of problems. I'm not surprised if Kamaru wins because he's that great.
Right.
But it's going to be one of those close fights. I don't think, and if it's not a Gilbert submission, Kamaru will win 5 rounds. Like it'll
decision.
It'll go the distance.
Yeah,
it'll go.
So I think Kamaru Usman, who fought Colby Covington, it was an incredible fight.
Great fight.
Fights Masvidal with a broken nose apparently going into that fight and still,
Don't they all have something?
still put in work.
I broke my hand in the first second of the round.
And when you hear the fact that this guy walks on grass instead of a sidewalk because his knees are so bad, and yet will out wrestle Tyron Woodley, will still throw kicks and stomps.
Damian Maia, he faced a jiu-jitsu guy already, right? And that's something he was saying, like, hey man, he wants to submit me. Well, I faced Damian Maia, who's arguably one of the best jiu-jitsu guys out there, right? So I don't know, man, but dude, I'm telling you, my brother from Brazil, there's something about him that's just different. He's different. He's not that. I don't know, man. I don't know. He's just different. I think his ground game is exceptional. Man, his submissions are scary.
Yeah.
His submissions are scary.
So I think my prediction is that I see Usman chasing the ghost of GSP. With this victory, he continues to clean out the welterweight division the same way that GSP did when he was champion. And I don't know if it isn't Gilbert, is it Masvidal with a full camp? Is it Colby Covington with a second? I don't see anybody in that division right now.
I don't see anyone beating him, man. He either has to go up or like, I don't see him going down. I can see him probably going up.
So I say Kamaru Usman is still UFC welterweight champion. I think he actually gets it done within 4 rounds. I think it'll be via TKO. I feel like he'll the second round might get in a shot that sort of changes things for Gilbert a little bit, gets him a little dazed. Gilbert had a long layoff too because they were supposed to fight last year.
Was it COVID or something?
It was COVID related. I don't know if he got COVID or if somebody of his team tested positive for COVID.
I think he had COVID. Yeah.
And so, it'd be very interesting to see, now after so many months have passed, if there are any lingering effects of what that may have had long-term for him. But I think Kamaru Usman gets it done Saturday night, walks out, still UFC welterweight champion of the world.
I think you're underestimating, man. I think everyone's underestimating Gilbert Burns, man. I think he's different, man. This is like the one fight. I don't know. Maybe Colby Covington people thought like, that perhaps he could be the guy to do it, right? But
yeah.
I don't know. This guy's just a different breed. He's a different animal, man. His power, like, dude, he's a different breed. I don't know, man. I think.
Is he a different animal in the same beast? It's a Kobe Bryant reference. Kobe Bryant reference. Come on, Pete.
Yes. Sorry, man.
I think no. Listen, I think
over the head.
I think it'll be a good fight. I think it'll be one of those fights that like at 1:30 in the morning, you and I are texting back and forth like, what did we just see, or just praising a performance from somebody.
That was like me watching that McGregor fight, man. I remember texting you or messaging you. I'm like, what?
Was I sleeping?
Just happened?
Is this a dream?
Yeah, I'm like, the fight hasn't started yet, right? That was insane.
Yeah, it's.
I did not expect that, man. I think they talked him up, new Connor. He's dedicated, committed. And then again, ring rust. You lose and it's ring rust.
Yeah, but what are you going to say, Pete? What are you going to say? Oh, he's had too long of a layoff. He's a little schlubbish. But we took this fight with Dustin anyway. No, of course you're going to, and even now, John Kavanaugh, his coach, has pivoted and had this picture on Instagram the other day where it was like 3 different Connors inside of like the Wolverine, tubes.
The bad guy thing, right?
Yeah, it's like Mystic Mac, good guy, and it's like the mad guy, and he broke free. And so it's marketing 101.
So what? Now we're going to hear him, his old antics. Is that what it is? Yeah. Hey, I'm in for it. That's how I fell in love with the guy. I was like, oh man, this guy's amazing. He talks so much smack and he backs it up. Yes, I love it. This is amazing. It's awesome. And it was so good for the UFC to have a guy like Conor McGregor, man. And I don't know who carries that torch. Like, he was just his own kind of persona.
Yeah,
Really, no one like him.
it might be a pivot for them. It might be like, because I mean, he comes off the shelf for not fighting for about a year, and comes back during the pandemic with limited crowds and sets the pay-per-view. He's in the top 5 for pay-per-view, in which he's already has 3 or 2 other performances. He's 3 of the top 5, and he's been gone for a year. So I mean, that just shows you the star power Conor McGregor has. I don't know if anyone really carries the torch. If you look at some of the fights that have come up, they've had to be like super cards in order to fill some of those other 2 spots in the top 5. I don't know. I think I don't think you replace Conor McGregor.
Man.
You pivot.
You can't, man. But dude, that lightweight division, oh boy,
Scary.
Do you think it'll be Charles Oliveira versus Poirier for a title?
I see Dustin as a guy who believes in his cause, and I don't like. He might fight Charles Oliveira. He's not going to fight Chandler. I honestly think that there's a better chance.
He said that, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a better chance. If I'm a betting man, I'm saying you see a trilogy fight for the title before anyone else contends for the lightweight title against Dustin Poirier. Those are my thoughts.
Is that fair though?
But here's the thing: I
mean, like the UFC could do whatever the hell they want,
and they have a history of moving guys in to fight for titles. Like, is it fair that GSP fought Michael Bisping for the 185 title after never fighting at that weight ever and being retired for like 7 years? No, no, not at all. So the UFC is going to do whatever it can to make money, and I think COVID was the perfect example of just how fragile a sport can be, because in a second everything can go away. So make your money.
Oh man. Whew. But dude, I don't know, man. Charles Oliveira, that's another one of my other Brazilian brothers, man. That guy, again,
he's a problem.
Animal, man. He's a big problem. What he did to Tony Ferguson, oh boy, oh my God, Tony Ferguson's arm. I was like, oh my God, that thing is gonna just.
Yeah, Tony Ferguson is another guy, but Charles Oliveira,
I think,
he put his stamp. He showed that he belongs with the big boys. Is he deserving of a title shot? 100%. Will he get it?
Yeah.
I don't know, because again, how do you market that?
Know,
it doesn't look as sexy as Conor Dustin 3.
Yeah, and then Gaethje will probably face Chandler. I think that's the next thing for him. Chandler was great, but you know what? I don't know. They're like, oh, he wasn't in the UFC for a long time. His first fight. Why is he getting all these? Man, the guy is like a legend in Bellator. Okay,
yeah.
Like, he's put in the work. Like, it's totally fine. I'm totally cool with it as long as you're an animal and you can stand with the big dogs. Like, you beat Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker's no joke, man. Dan Hooker's a great fighter.
He went 5 rounds with Dustin Poirier, which landed Poirier with McGregor, and Dan Hooker got knocked out within the first round by Chandler. There's no better way to make your UFC debut than being as good as you are with your record and accolades, and then going and just snuffing out Dan Hooker the way he did.
Yeah, who they thought would beat him, right? Dan Hooker.
Sure.
I think he was the favorite, right?
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
for a while or something. So yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting, very, very interesting division. Oh my God, it's like mouth-watering. I'm like, ooh, what's gonna happen now? Nate Diaz wants to come back and fight too,
and Nick Diaz wants to come back. Ooh,
yeah. Oh my God, man. Oh, there's so many good things, man. Ngannou, Stipe.
That's gonna be a banger.
Oh my God.
John Jones at heavyweight. This year is gonna be crazy. But I'll be very honest. The fight I really want to see more than anything else in 2021. COVID, don't mess this up, please. I want to see Masvidal and Colby Covington beat the snot out of each other for 5 rounds.
Yes, war. I'm down for the war,
just
man.
Because they talk so much smack outside the ring. They talk so much smack inside the ring. I want to.
They were partners, right?
They were
teammates.
Best friends. Best friends.
Oh, I love it. That's the best part. I love it.
It's insane.
Yes.
That's what I want to see. And you can make whatever title you want for it, whether it's like the worst.
Call it whatever you want, man.
Put a title on it, make it 5 rounds, give $1 million bonus. I don't care, but I want to see that fight happen.
BMF belt, man. Whatever.
That's right.
Whatever, man. Let's just do it for the BMF belt. Whatever. One that I want, man, so bad, but I don't think it's gonna happen, man. It's gonna be like that GSP Silva thing. You already know, Jones Adesanya.
Yeah.
I want that so bad, so bad. I do think it happens if Adesanya beats Yan.
Yeah, I mean,
Adesanya beats Yan, and John Jones beats whoever he has to beat. But the thing is, then what do you do as John Jones? You beat your first heavyweight, then you probably contend for a title.
for sure.
So that puts more of a weight on the Adesanya thing. Unless Adesanya goes, well, I'm just going to move up to heavyweight too.
So that's what I was gonna say. I think what Jones wanted to do,
Which would be legendary if he does.
Yeah,
That'd
well,
be so sick.
Jones wanted to
Goes up and
put
then
the weight
beats
on.
Jones. Woo!
He wanted to put the weight on. He wanted to do it incrementally. Adesanya is just such a badass. He's gonna be like, oh, you want to fight at 205, 265? I'll fight you wherever, whenever. When he talked about fighting John Jones, it wasn't about, oh, let me clean out a division, let me put on weight so I'm at that level to be able to compete with you. It's no, I just want to do it at Raider Stadium. I want to be on the biggest stage to fight you. And so Adesanya, middleweight, light heavyweight champion, even if John Bones doesn't have the title, Izzy still goes up to heavyweight regardless and fights him. That's my thought. I think Izzy's just that badass.
I think he's going to. I don't think he's afraid, man.
No.
I think John Jones secretly is super afraid of that kid. That kid is good, man. He's so good.
There's a lot to be afraid
so
of.
many times, sometimes you underestimate, what's his name? The juice head. Paul, oh my God.
Paulo Costa?
I just lost his name. Paulo Costa, there you go. I was like, oh yeah, Paulo Costa. He's gonna cause some trouble.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything. I'm like, okay, wow, okay, this guy's a badass. All right, I'm all for Izzy, man. Like, he's so good, and it'd be so incredible. I love John Jones, by the way. Reminds me a lot of Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
One of my favorite fighters of all time, if not my favorite fighter of all time. I love Anderson Silva, and reminds me a lot. And Izzy sort of has that aspect too, which is why I like him as well. But dude, how crazy would it be? Izzy going up to heavyweight and beating John Jones.
Legendary.
How would you argue? I think he'd be the GOAT. I think Izzy would be the GOAT.
Yeah.
Over Khabib. I think he'd be the GOAT. I, in my personal opinion, if you take out John Jones, who is said to be the GOAT.
Yes.
Right? In his eyes, he is the GOAT. And in many, I view him as one of the GOATs.
For sure.
I think Khabib is great. I think Khabib is, I don't know. It's weird. Different. But different monsters. I think John Jones went through some hard people, man, to get to where he is. Like, he went through some crazy people.
And life stuff.
And he did it all messed up, man. He was messed up and beating people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Khabib, he was like straight and narrow, man. He was great. Never got into trouble. No, this guy was partying. He was partying before fights. He was doing all these things, whatever, controversy, and he was still kicking ass. So, I don't know, man. But if Izzy pulls it off, dude, he's the GOAT. And then I would just set, I would retire right there, man. I'd be like, I did it all. I just beat the guy that nobody was able to beat, I mean, yeah, he lost because of the steroid thing, right? But he doesn't have an actual official loss.
No, he's got one disqualification, and that was from illegal elbows.
Cormier, right?
No. That was a no contest. John Jones'
When was that?
first official loss came against, and I don't remember his name, but it came early in his career. It's when he was delivering some 12-6 elbows, and at that time it wasn't allowed, so he got disqualified, and that's his only official loss in his UFC career.
Damn. Was that allowed in Pride fighting, the 12-6?
Everything was allowed. You could bring like a baseball bat to the ring,
knives, everything. I loved Pride fighting, man. That was oh my God, it was brutal. Vanderlei Silva was like the king of Pride fighting.
Oh,
man.
sure,
so crazy.
Yeah, juiced up Vanderlei, juiced up everybody.
Loved it. Oh man, Alistair Overeem in Pride. Oh my God, he looked like an absolute beast.
Well, as Joe Rogan calls him, Ubereem. Alistair Ubereem, because he was just inflated.
He was huge, dude. He was massive.
Unreal.
Massive.
Unreal.
Massive. They looked like balloons. I don't know. He just filled with balloons. But crazy, man. Very crazy. By the way, before you say anything, you better watch Francis Ngannou podcast with Joe Rogan. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
Listen, big fan of...
Super emotional stuff, man. That guy, what a story. So crazy.
One of the greatest stories of all time. If you don't know Francis Ngannou's story, working at salt mines, starting his career so late and seeing where he is, incredible story. Love to see it. Can't wait to see him, knock out Stipe Miocic. It's gonna happen.
Oh, it'd be great, man. First round,
boom, head straight off his shoulders. Anyways, listen, Pete, I want to thank you for your time. It's been amazing. We could talk for hours. We'll probably do this again because we have so much more to discuss. But if people want to follow you, your music videos, everything that you have going on, where can they find you?
All right, so you can check out my Instagram, Facebook, all the social media platforms, and it's just Peter Serrado. And on YouTube, Peter Serrado. You'll find everything there. Stay tuned. We got some new releases on the way. We got Lisbon. Cool little video for that. A little COVID-friendly video. We animated. It'll be really cool. I'm super, super stoked for that. Then we got the release of Ceylon. And then we got some surprises later on with some new material, new look, new sound. It'll be incredible.
Boom.
And it'll be awesome.
Boom.
But dude, thank you so much for having me. I know we've wanted to do this for a while, and I apologize. Just been a little busy with things, but I'm so happy to be on here, man.
Yeah,
it's great, and I love what you're doing.
This was a lot of fun. I'm glad that you were able to do this. I can't wait for you to come back. Listen, if you want to listen to Pete's new album, Apple Music, Spotify, everywhere that you get your music, it is available. And if you're interested in listening to more episodes of the Big O Podcast, available on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, wherever you get your podcast, with full-length episodes up on YouTube. So make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for future episodes, leave a review. For my guest, Peter Serrado, I'm your host, Julian Ortiz. Thank you for watching and listening, everybody. See you next time.